Do you want to know how I design my YouTube thumbnails? I'm gonna show you in the next few minutes. Coming up on Frame 316 Media. First, let's talk about how thumbnails are very important in growing your YouTube channel. I talk about this as part of my previous episode, so make sure to watch that video and head on to my channel. Remember, YouTube is a visual platform, so it's important to make your thumbnails as engaging as possible while also using it to tell your potential audience what are they supposed to expect on your video. How it works is that viewers look at your thumbnails first before reading your title. That is the amount of time you have to get their attention. It is also important to understand how people can find your video on YouTube. First, people search for keywords. If you have the right keywords in place on your video title or on your description, your video will be included in the search results. Next, your video can also appear on the suggested video list. That is the videos that you see on the right side while watching any video on YouTube. And then, if they are subscribed to you, they will see your video in their homepage. Your video might also be added on a playlist by a follower or someone who is trying to put up a set of video to share in their homepage. But what do they actually see? The thumbnail. Do you see where I'm going here? By the way, if you're new here, my name is Robert and I upload videos covering tips and strategies on how you can grow your business with video. My passion is to help you reach this stage in your business, whether you're a small business owner or a freelancer. So before I give you the best practices tips on your thumbnails, I'm going to show you how my YouTube thumbnails are done. So let's go to my computer and I'm going to do a short demonstration. Okay, we have Photoshop here. I have a photo of myself where I took this photo a few months ago in preparation for the batch of thumbnails that I'm going to be creating for my YouTube channel. So I'm going to use this photo to demonstrate how I design my thumbnail for a Photoshop. So first, if you are new to Photoshop, you don't need to be expert level, for you to be able to create something similar to what I'm going to be showing you today. So I'm just going to go to File and create a new document. So we're going to just write here 1920 by 1080. So this is the HD. If you're new to Photoshop, this is the dimensions that you need when creating a YouTube thumbnail. So this is equivalent to the HD frame of your video and it fits the YouTube interface. So we're just gonna call this thumbnail because it's a thumbnail. Okay, so I'm gonna create that. Okay, the first thing that we need to do here on our source image is of course to remove the background. So in the older version of Photoshop, you would need to slowly etch the edge of your, or cut through the edge, draw to the edge through the edge of your image to isolate the foreground from the background. But thankfully, because of what Photoshop did in their recent version, we have here what you call the remove background. So I will just simply press that remove background button. And what Photoshop did for me is to easily remove the background, as you have noticed. But in most cases, I would end up cleaning some other parts like this, the side of my head, like this in the shirt, and somewhere here in my left arm. So how I would do that is I would go and grab the pen tool, which is here, or press P, and I'm just gonna go and carefully draw on this part of my image. and I'm gonna hit Command Enter to create a selection for that, and I'm just gonna press delete. So that's how simple you fine tune the parts of your image. So going to the other part, which is this part here in the shirt, the lower shirt, I'm gonna draw that simple outline here, and then just delete it and go to this part of my left arm. So for something like this, which would look like a bit tricky because it's small, you just have to. Okay, I think that would do because that's part of my watch. And now we have. Let's check if there's any other part of my photo that needs to be changed. Okay, so I have here an extra layer which I just created a simple shape to color this because I would need this part covered. I'm just gonna hit this and enable this layer, and I have a white background for my phone here, so I can simply add in a YouTube logo, for example. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna combine these two, and I'm gonna copy that to our thumbnail image. So as you would notice, uh, now I have the freedom to create whatever I need here on my thumbnail. Now we're gonna work on this image for the next few minutes because this is where we're gonna be building the thumbnail. So it depends on your style, your taste. So for this specific thumbnail, I wanna try and slant this a bit like this. No, just to make it look, a bit more interesting. I'm not saying that my face is not interesting, but yeah, probably. So the next thing that I would do is I'm gonna create a new layer. I'm gonna call this background or BG, and this is gonna be my photo. Now I have a background, an empty BG, and a photo. So on my background, I would usually combine like whatever colors I want. So let's see. I'm gonna try this bit of a purple here, and yeah, these two colors. Let's try this. And then I would usually grab the gradient here, gradient tool, and select a type of gradient that's the basic one, just to show you. So the selection that we have here, the options that we have here on the basics is this simple gradient combining the foreground and a background. So what we have is the foreground to background. So beside this, you would notice different settings here or different options. I can either use a linear gradient, a radial gradient, an angled gradient, reflected, and diamond. So most of the time I'm using linear and radial. For this example, I'm gonna use radial. So before you add the gradient, make sure that your BG is selected, your BG layer is selected. And I'm just gonna, free flow, try to draw a gradient from the top left of my screen going to my bottom right. So, yep, something like that. Or I could hit Command Z. Let's say I wanna try something different. I'm just changing the direction of my gradient here. So I wanna emphasize more on the part here where it's purple, the foreground. So I'm gonna hit that again and try a shorter one. Doesn't work. Let's try a big one or from the middle. Yeah, this is something that I intend to use a bit of my purple here and the blue part of the background color here. So the next thing that I would do is I would just simply add in my type tool. Let's say I'm gonna call this thumbnail thumbnails that okay, creating. Let's choose a different font color. I'm hitting Command T to just change the size. So for all my thumbnails, I'm using the font Beba. No. Bold. Okay, so if I need to change the setting of my font, I can go to this properties uh, panel here and change whatever I want. So I want the kerning or the spacing between the letters. I just wanted to keep it to either 0 or 10. Okay. So now I have my first word here that's called creating. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Command J. So you would notice when I hit Command J, my font or my type layer was duplicated. So I'm just gonna drag this here and write thumbnails. Usually I love my text to be aligned on the left, so I'm just gonna drag this here a bit to make some adjustment. And if I want to focus on any specific phrase or word, what I would do is I would add a new layer under the text layer, and just I'm gonna call this box. And I would just grab the rectangular marquee tool here and just simply draw a box here. Let's change the size. So I'm not pressing anything on my keyboard. So my style is I would usually overlap that box or that rectangle to my photo, since my photo is an isolated layer on my Photoshop canvas. So I would try and use a different color here, because what I'm trying to do is I want to try to emphasize again. So what you need to do is change this to paint bucket tool, because we are still on the gradient tool, and I'm just gonna color this box here, something like that. And if I wanna remove that, we call this in the old days we call this the rolling ants, but it just tells you that that part of your canvas is selected. So I'm just gonna hit Command D on my keyboard, and let's just select the box and make a bit, or just to make it look balanced. Okay, creating thumbnails, and I'm just gonna usually would use a third line. I'm gonna duplicate this again using Command J, and I'm gonna drag this here. Create, oops, sorry, just gonna drag this here and write creating thumbnails that convert. Okay, so just to keep the balance, I would usually have that size, the last phrase, because in my thumbnail, my focus is the phrase creating thumbnails. And that convert is somewhat part of the long tail keyword. This is what I'm going to talk about in one of the tips where you want to try to make it descriptive. And lastly, for my thumbnails, as you would notice, I'm going to duplicate this layer again, drag this here, and just add my website. So it's as easy as that. But for my website, I would usually go for the lighter font, which is regular instead of bold. And I'm just gonna make this smaller and align this again here, somewhere here. So after a final look at my thumbnail, I would then decide if I want to move it in the middle, or keep that part where my arrow is, or where my elbow is slightly touching the edge of the canvas. So I'm just gonna resize this because I want that part where part of my elbow is cropped out. So yeah, that's it. So this is how I do my thumbnail. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna use this thumbnail for this specific video. I might change my mind, but yeah, you might see this as the thumbnail for the video that we're recording right now. So yep. So it's not that hard, right? I hope you can use that as a guide for your thumbnail creations. Now for some tips. First, show emotions on your videos. Human being can easily relate to emotion. So you can either show your face with a specific emotion or you can use colors to convey emotion. So what are the colors that you can use to convey emotion? Red often means passion, anger, or ambition. Orange, it often conveys optimism and encouragement. Yellow conveys energy and youth, while blue is associated with relaxation and calm. Green is connected with growth and nature, and purple is connected with luxury and imagination. So go ahead and choose the color that you want to convey emotion. Next, don't overdo the text. Make sure that it's descriptive enough. If you can explain your video in your thumbnail in less than 5 words, that would be amazing. Okay, your thumbnail's look and feel should also be consistent. It has to be something that people can associate with your channel. Like in a bit of thumbnails, once they see your thumbnail and they follow you, they won't miss clicking through and watching your video. So by now, I hope you understand how important a thumbnail is on your YouTube channel's growth. For new channels, the YouTube search is going to be the main way that modern people will find your video on YouTube. Since you are small and you are starting, you are already at a disadvantage. So you want thumbnails to be working for you. If you're getting any value out of this video, please hit subscribe and the notification bell so you wouldn't miss out on videos like this in the future. So it's time to go to work. It's your time to grow. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in my next video.